The principle of polarity. Everything is dual, the law of opposites. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. With these words, the Kybalion reveals the fourth Hermetic law, the principle of polarity. To the untrained mind, opposites appear separate, in conflict, irreconcilable. But to the Hermetic master, opposites are not enemies. They are extremes of the same essence. Hot and cold are not different in nature, only in degree. Light and dark are not separate, but variations of the same vibration. Love and hate are not distinct forces, but two poles on the spectrum of emotion. What seems to be division is in truth unity. Absolute versus relative understanding. The world of relativity convinces us of separation. Science speaks of opposites as distinct. Positive versus negative, matter versus antimatter, north versus south. But Hermetic wisdom lifts us into the absolute. All opposites are gradations of one thing. Think of temperature. There is no point where heat ends and cold begins. There is only motion, fast or slow. Hot and cold are relative names for the same essence, vibration. The same applies to light and darkness, sound and silence, courage and fear. The polarity is real, but the essence is one. Polarity in nature. Look into nature, and the principle reveals itself everywhere. Day and night. One sun, one earth, two poles of experience. Life and death. Not enemies, but stages of the same process of existence. Expansion and contraction, the heartbeat of the universe itself. Polarity is not conflict, but rhythm, the dance of extremes that creates harmony. The ancients understood this deeply. The Taoists drew the yin-yang, showing that light contains darkness, and darkness contains light. The Egyptians spoke of balance, ma'at, where opposites were kept in divine harmony. Mystics across cultures echoed the same truth. Without cold, heat is meaningless. Without sorrow, joy cannot be known. Thoth himself declared that opposites are necessary for the understanding of truth. Hermes echoed that polarity is the law by which transformation becomes possible. For without the poles, there could be no movement, no growth, no mastery. Polarity as mechanism of growth. Why does polarity exist? Because it is the mechanism of transformation. Without one pole, the other could not exist. Without fear, courage is meaningless. Without weakness, strength is invisible. Without shadow, light is unseen. The Kybalion states, all truths are but half-truths. Every truth is half false. Polarity demands perspective. From the lower plane, opposites appear as conflict. From the higher plane, they are seen as two sides of one law. Polarity in the human experience. Consider your own life. Every extreme you have felt, despair, anger, ecstasy, peace, are not isolated states, but points on a spectrum. To understand them is to understand yourself. The enemy you hate contains the seed of love. The fear that paralyzes you holds the potential for courage. When you understand polarity, you stop being trapped by extremes. You begin to see them as degrees, movable, transformable. And in that awareness, power is born. Even modern science cannot escape polarity. Electricity, positive and negative charges. Magnetism, north and south poles. Chemistry, acids and bases. Physics, matter and antimatter. Polarity is not just a mystical idea. It is law across all planes, physical, mental and spiritual. The principle of polarity shows us that opposites are not division but unity. They are the same thing seen from different degrees. To the Hermetic master there are no absolutes, only spectrums. The question is not whether polarity exists, but how you will use it. Will you be trapped in extremes, pulled helplessly by the poles? Or will you see the unity beneath them and learn to transmute one into the other? Polarity is not conflict. It is the law of balance, the rhythm of extremes, the gateway to mastery. Everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Mastering the spectrum of opposites, the secret of transmutation. The Hermetic masters taught that polarity is not only to be observed, it is to be used. You cannot escape polarity, but you can transmute along its spectrum. This is the art of mastery, to shift despair into hope, fear into courage, hate into love. You do not destroy one pole, you transform it into its opposite, because both belong to the same essence. Every thought and emotion you experience exists on a spectrum. Anger and peace are not separate entities, but degrees of vibration. When you feel anger, you're not trapped. You're simply standing on one end of the spectrum. By conscious effort, through breath, reflection, and intention, you can slide toward calm. This is mental transmutation, learning to shift your state, to move across the pole instead of being enslaved by it. Practical tools of transmutation. Awareness. First, recognize polarity. Ask, what spectrum am I standing on? Fear and courage, hate and love, confusion and clarity, breath and stillness. Slow breathing calms vibration, creating space to shift. Reframing, change perspective. What you call failure may be the seed of success. Affirmations. Speak the opposite pole. When fear arises, say, I am courageous. The subconscious responds to vibration. Visualization. Imagine yourself already embodying the opposite pole. See hate dissolving into compassion, darkness into light. Daily life examples. A person criticizes you harshly. The low pole reacts with anger. The high pole responds with patience. By shifting, you choose mastery. You face uncertainty. The low pole trembles in fear. The high pole trusts in faith. By shifting, you expand possibility. You feel envy. The low pole clings to scarcity. The high pole celebrates abundance. By shifting, you unlock gratitude. Each moment is an opportunity to shift vibration along the pole. Even modern discoveries mirror this hermetic truth. Electricity. Positive and negative are not separate. They are poles of the same force. Magnetism. North and south are inseparable ends of one field. Psychology. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow and the light within the same psyche. Science names it polarity. Hermeticism names it law. Polarity and spiritual growth. Why does polarity matter spiritually? Because extremes teach. Without shadow, you would not value light. Without loss, you would not recognize love. Polarity is not punishment, but teacher. The Hermetic Master does not fear extremes. They use them as fuel for growth. By walking consciously along the spectrum, they learn balance, compassion, wisdom. Master of the spectrum. Polarity is not conflict. It is the law of extremes that allows choice. Every state you experience can be shifted. Every emotion contains its opposite. Every challenge hides its gift. To master polarity is to master transmutation. You do not destroy the spectrum, you rise above it. You learn to walk freely from pole to pole, no longer trapped but empowered. This is the art of hermetic balance. This is the gift of the fourth principle. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites.